Mark, it's almost midnight. Are you coming home? I pressed the phone to my ear, packing the kitchen. My voice came out sharper than I intended. I told you we're still at the office. Big project deadline, he said, a little too casually. I stared at the untouched dinner on the table. You've been working late every night this week. That's what happens when you want promotions, he said, half laughing. Don't wait up. The line went dead before I could answer. I set the phone down slowly, like it might explode if I moved too fast. When he walked in an hour later, I caught it before he even reached me, a faint scent in the air. Floral, sweet, and definitely not my perfume. You smell different, I said, leaning against the counter. He dropped his keys into the bowl, didn't meet my eyes. Probably just someone at the office wearing too much. I laughed, but it came out hollow. Right, because your accounting team is all about expensive perfume. Mark's head snapped up. What's that supposed to mean? It's a joke, I forced a smile. You're so jumpy lately. I'm tired, that's all, he said, grabbing a beer from the fridge. I wanted to keep pushing, but my chest felt tight. Instead, I just nodded and sat down. The next day, I told Clara about it over coffee. Maybe it's nothing, she said, stirring sugar into her latte. Perfume isn't nothing, I shot back. It was on his shirt, Clara. She frowned. Okay, but you've been stressed. He's probably just under pressure at work. Or he's under someone, I muttered. Jesus, Anna, she whispered, glancing around. You don't have proof. I don't need proof to feel like this. I rubbed my temples. It's not just the perfume. He hides his phone when I walk into the room. Last night he jumped when I touched his shoulder. Clara sighed. Look, you know I love you, but you can't spiral over every weird thing. Talk to him before you. Before I what? I interrupted. Before I start to see what's already there. She leaned forward. Before you burn your marriage down over a maybe. I didn't answer. My coffee had gone cold. That night I tried. Mark, I said when he got home, are we okay? He dropped his briefcase. What kind of question is that? A serious one. I folded my arms. You've been distant, snapping at me, working late, I'm not imagining it. His eyes narrowed. You sound paranoid. I sound concerned, I said, trying to keep my voice even. You're making something out of nothing. Then tell me why your phone's never in sight when I'm around, I pushed. He rolled his eyes. Because you read into everything. This is exactly why I don't. He stopped himself, shaking his head. Forget it. No, finish that sentence, I said, my voice shaking now. I said forget it. He walked past me into the bedroom. I stood there, fists clenched. Every nerve in me screamed that something had shifted, something I couldn't name yet but could feel crawling under my skin. When I finally followed him, he was already in bed, scrolling on his phone with the screen angled away from me. Who are you texting? I asked. Work. At midnight. Yes, Anna, not all of us get to clock out at 5. That's funny, I said, climbing in beside him, because I thought marriage was supposed to be a full-time job too. He put the phone down hard. I can't do this every night. I'm not asking for every night, I said quietly, just honesty. He turned off the light without answering. Days turned into a week, and the pattern held. Late nights, quick explanations, a wall between us where there used to be none. Then, Friday evening, I decided to surprise him. I drove to his office with takeout, thinking maybe I was wrong. Maybe he really was just working himself to death. But his office was dark. I called his phone. Hey, he answered after 3 rings. Where are you? At the office, like I said. I stared at the empty parking lot. Really? There was a pause. Yeah, why? No reason, I said, my voice flat. Enjoy your late night. I hung up before he could respond. When he got home hours later, I didn't mention it. I just sat on the couch, watching him take off his jacket. What? He asked, frowning. Nothing, I said. I was just thinking about how much you've been working. It'll calm down soon, he said, avoiding my eyes. Sure, I murmured, soon. I watched him walk into the shower. The sound of running water filled the apartment, but it didn't drown out the question echoing in my head. If this is what love feels like, why do I feel so alone? I didn't sleep that night. I lay there in the dark, listening to his breathing, wondering if it was the same when he slept beside her, whoever she was. I was looking for loose change when I felt the crisp fold in the pocket of Mark's jacket. I pulled it out, already expecting a gas receipt or a coffee bill. It was. A hotel logo stared back at me. The date was last Tuesday, his business trip. And under guests, it didn't say Mark Evans. It said room for two. My stomach clenched so hard I thought I might throw up. The door clicked open. Hey, he called, tossing his keys on the counter. I shoved the receipt in my fist before I even knew I was doing it. Hey, how was your day? Long, I'm starving. He opened the fridge. We got anything besides leftovers? I didn't check. My voice felt like it belonged to someone else. He pulled out a container, sniffed it, and grimaced. Guess I'll order something. I stood there, my hand sweaty around the paper. At dinner, I tried. So Tuesday, I stabbed at my pasta. You stayed at the Hilton. Mark looked up, chewing slowly. Yeah, why? Which one? The downtown one, why? I shrugged, just wondering. He smirked. What, are you planning a romantic getaway for us? I forced a laugh, something like that. He went back to eating. My heart was pounding so loud I couldn't hear the fork scrape his plate. Later that night, I called Clara. Tell me if I'm crazy, I said, packing the bedroom. You're not crazy, she said immediately. What happened? I found a hotel receipt in his jacket. 2 guests, last Tuesday. She sucked in a breath. Did you ask him? No, if I ask, he'll lie. And if he lies, I'll have to face that it's real. Anna, her voice softened. You can't sit on this forever, you'll explode. I'm already exploding, just silently. Then get loud, she urged. Make him explain. I can't, not yet. I sank onto the bed. I need to, I don't know, catch him without an escape. When he got out of the shower, steam trailing behind him, he glanced at me. You okay? I'm fine. You look like you've been crying. I was watching something sad. What? I blinked. Does it matter? He raised a brow. Guess not. He slid into bed. I turned off the lamp. Long day tomorrow. Yeah, early start. I listened to him breathe. Slow, steady, like nothing was wrong. The next morning, I left for work early but circled back an hour later. His car was still in the driveway. I walked inside quietly. He was at the table, phone pressed to his ear. Can't talk long, he was saying. Yeah, Tuesday was perfect. No, she doesn't suspect a thing. I froze, every muscle locking. Okay, I'll call you later, he said, hanging up. I stepped forward. Who was that? He jumped. Jesus, Anna, I thought you were at work. I forgot something. I stared at him. Who were you talking to? Work, he said instantly. I tilted my head. That's funny, I didn't know work called you babe. His jaw tightened. You're hearing things. I laughed, sharp and humorless. Right, I'm hearing perfume, seeing hotel receipts, imagining phone calls. What hotel receipt? I met his eyes, the one in your jacket pocket. His face didn't even flicker. That was for a client. I shared a suite because the hotel was full. With who? A colleague. Male or female? Does it matter? It matters to me. He sighed, female, but it wasn't like that. Then what was it like? A bed and a TV, Anna, that's it. I stared at him, and he stared back, daring me to push harder. I didn't, not yet. That night I lay beside him in the dark. His breathing was calm, even. And all I could think was, is it the same when you sleep beside her? I wasn't looking for anything when I picked up his phone that morning. At least that's what I told myself. The screen lit up with a preview. Last night was unforgettable. No name, just a number I didn't recognize. I heard the shower running. My pulse thudded in my ears. When he came out, towel around his waist, I held up the phone. Who's texting you? He glanced at the screen, then at me. Work. I stared at the words. That's a hell of a way to discuss spreadsheets. It's an inside joke. With who? A client. He took the phone from my hand. You're overreacting. I think I'm underreacting, I said, my voice sharper than I intended. He just shook his head and went to get dressed. 2 days later, he announced over breakfast, I joined a gym. I almost choked on my coffee. You hate gyms. People change, he said, smiling faintly. Do they? I set my cup down. Or do they just start working out when they need to impress someone? His smile vanished. You're exhausting sometimes. And you're evasive, I shot back. We stared at each other until he grabbed his keys and left without another word. That weekend, we went to his company dinner. I wore the dress he used to say was his favorite. The moment we walked in, I noticed a woman at the bar glance at me, quickly, then away, like she'd been caught starring. Who's that? I whispered. Who? The one in the red dress. He didn't even look, no idea. But when we passed her table later, her smile toward him was too warm, and his return nod was too familiar. I leaned in. Want to tell me why she looked like she knows exactly what your cologne smells like? You're imagining things, he muttered. By the time we got home, my head was spinning. While he showered, I sat at his desk, hands hovering over his laptop. The password I'd tried before didn't work, until I remembered his old one. The inbox was ordinary at first, invoices, schedules, then I found the folder. Hilton trip, the label read. Inside were confirmations not just for the last trip, but for 3 others. My stomach dropped. I started memorizing details, dates, times, like I was cramming for an exam that would determine my life. The bathroom door opened. I slammed the laptop shut and pretended to scroll my phone. The next morning, I said casually, You've been traveling a lot. It's part of the job, he replied, sipping coffee. Alone. He met my eyes for a moment too long. Of course. I smiled without meaning it. Good, I'd hate to think those receipts were something else. His cup froze halfway to his mouth. What receipts? Just ones I saw lying around, I said, letting the words hang. Stop going through my stuff, Anna. Stop giving me reasons to, I snapped. That night I couldn't sleep. He was next to me, warm, solid, his breathing slow. I used to find that sound comforting. Now it just felt like a lie humming in the dark. He was halfway through tying his tie when the words slipped out of me. Who is she? Mark froze, his hand stilled at his collar. What? You heard me. His eyes narrowed. You've lost your mind. No, I said, my voice trembling but sharp. I've found the receipts, the perfume, the late nights. So tell me, Mark, who is she? He laughed, short and humorless. God, you're paranoid. Paranoid people don't have physical evidence. What evidence? He turned toward me, chin high. The hotel bill in your pocket. The text that said last night was unforgettable. Want me to keep going? He shook his head. You're twisting everything. Am I? Then untwist it for me. You're ruining us, he snapped. Do you even hear yourself? Do you know what it's like to come home to this kind of interrogation every day? I stepped closer. Do you know what it's like to sleep beside someone and wonder whose bed they were in before yours? That's disgusting, he shot back. So is lying to me. I'm not lying. Say her name then. There is no her, he said, the words clipped, deliberate. I stared at him, the silence stretching so tight it could snap. You can't even look me in the eye. His jaw twitched, because I'm tired of being accused of something I haven't done. You've done it, I said quietly. You just don't have the guts to admit it. He stepped back, running a hand over his face. You need help. I almost laughed. I need help, you're cheating on me and somehow I'm the problem. You're imagining it. You've built this whole fantasy in your head, and now you're punishing me for it. My hands shook, but I shoved them into my pockets, feeling the folded receipt dig into my palm like a blade. This isn't a fantasy, Mark. This is my life, our marriage, and you're tearing it apart. You're tearing it apart, he said, pointing at me. Your constant suspicion you're snooping is because you've given me reason. Because you're insecure. The word hit me like a slap. No, I'm aware. I see the signs you think you're hiding. You're wrong, he said again, softer this time, almost pleading. I held his gaze. For a moment, just a moment, I almost believed him. Almost. Then I saw it, that flicker in his eyes, not guilt, fear that I knew too much. I straightened. We're done pretending. He crossed his arms. And what's that supposed to mean? It means I'm not going to sit here and swallow your half-truths while you make me feel crazy. He smirked faintly. You've already made yourself crazy. No, I said, my voice steady now. I've made myself ready. For what? To stop giving you the benefit of the doubt. He shook his head again, muttering something under his breath. What was that? Nothing, he grabbed his briefcase. I have a meeting. I stepped in front of the door. Not until you tell me the truth. His eyes flashed. Move. No. He dropped his voice. You're making a fool of yourself. I smiled, cold, deliberate. Not yet, but I will if I have to. He exhaled hard, looking past me like I was just air. You're exhausting. You said that already, I said, stepping aside. Go to your meeting, we'll finish this later. He brushed past me without another word, the faint trace of that same perfume following him out the door. I stood there long after he'd gone, the receipt still burning in my pocket, every breath tasting like flowers I didn't own. I didn't cry, not this time. I just stared at the door, memorizing the sound it made when he left, sharp, final, like a warning shot. It started with a name I wasn't supposed to hear. Elise, one of his coworkers, said at the dinner last month, smiling just a little too knowingly when Mark walked past. I typed it into Instagram that night. Her profile was public. Sunlit beaches, wine glasses clinking at rooftop bars, a smile so practiced it almost looked like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. And under one of her pictures, a comment from Mark, "You look incredible." I called Clara immediately. I think I found her. Her who? The other woman. She groaned, Anna. Don't just listen. I rattled off the details, the vacations, the captions, the way Mark's comments sat there like landmines. Clara hesitated. And you're sure this is? Yes. You don't have proofs. I don't need proof when the knife's already in my chest. Block her, Clara said firmly. I can't. You can, you just don't want to. No, I said, staring at my phone. I need to see what she's doing. If I don't, I'll imagine worse. An hour later, I had a fake account. Profile picture stolen from a stock photo, bio blank. I hit follow. She accepted in minutes. I scrolled for hours. Every photo felt like a punch. The casual pose in a hotel lobby I recognized from one of Mark's business trips. The champagne glass raised toward the camera, the caption, "Some nights are worth breaking the rules for." The next morning over breakfast, I tested him. Do you know anyone named Elise? Mark didn't look up from his phone. Sure, she's in marketing. Pretty. He shrugged, I guess why. No reason, I said lightly, just curious. He finally looked at me, searching my face. What's this about? Nothing, I lied, pass the coffee. That night, I scrolled again. A photo of her laughing in a sundress, hair thrown back, sunlight in her eyes. My stomach twisted. Clara called, you're torturing yourself. I know. Then stop. I can't, I whispered. It's like, if I watch closely enough, maybe I'll see the truth without him having to tell me. And what happens when you do? I didn't answer. The next day, Elise posted a picture at a fancy restaurant. 2 wine glasses on the table, one half full. I showed Clara, look at the sleeve, that's his jacket. She sighed, you're chasing ghosts. No, I'm chasing the person who stole my life. Mark came home late again that night. Busy day, I asked. Yeah, why? I shrugged, just wondering if the wine was good. He froze for half a second. What wine? Never mind, I said, smiling like I didn't already know. I should have blocked her, but I didn't. Because every photo, every smile, every caption felt like proof, and I wasn't ready to stop collecting it. Anna, you've lost weight, my mother said over the phone. Are you sick? I'm fine. You don't sound fine. I'm just busy. With what? You barely leave the house anymore. I said I'm fine, I snapped, louder than I meant to. Silence hummed on the other end. I have to go. At work, my boss pulled me aside. You missed another deadline. I'll get it done, I mumbled. He sighed, you used to be the most reliable person here. What's going on? Nothing. It's not nothing. I said I'll get it done, I repeated, walking away before he could answer. That night I sat in the kitchen staring at the clock. 11:45 p.m. No text, no call. By 1:30 my hands were shaking. I called him, straight to voicemail. When the front door finally clicked open at 2:04, I was already standing there. Where were you? He blinked at me, working. Liar. I don't have to do this with you right now, he said, moving past me. Yes, you do. I followed him into the kitchen. You don't answer your phone for hours, you come home smelling like. Like what? Like you've been somewhere I'm not welcome. He grabbed a wine glass from the cabinet. You're imagining things again. Something inside me snapped. I took the glass from his hand and threw it against the wall. It shattered, wine spraying across the tile. His eyes widened. What the hell is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? My voice was shaking. You're out until 2 in the morning with her, and you think the problem is me throwing a glass. There is no her. Yes, there is, and you don't even have the decency to hide it well anymore. You're insane, he said quietly. No, I said, my breath ragged. I'm done. He stared at me, jaw tight. Done with what? With letting you turn me into this. This, he gestured toward the shards on the floor. This version of me, I said. The one who doesn't eat, the one who can't sleep, the one who's watching her life fall apart while you keep pretending everything's fine. You've lost it, he muttered, walking toward the bedroom. I stayed in the kitchen, staring at the broken glass glinting under the light. For the first time, I wasn't thinking about him. I was thinking about me, what was left of me, and how much I hated the person I'd become. The therapist's office smelled faintly of lavender. So, Dr. Mason said, crossing one leg over the other, why are you here? I'm tired, I told her. Physically or emotionally? Both. She studied me for a moment. Tell me what's been happening. My husband is cheating on me, I said flatly. You're certain? As certain as anyone can be without catching them in the act. Receipts, perfume, messages. Have you confronted him? Too many times. And he lies, then he makes me feel crazy. And I believe him, just long enough to hate myself for it later. She leaned forward. So what do you want from this? I want to stop bleeding every time he opens his mouth. That night I sat on the couch with my laptop. When Mark came in, I closed the screen casually. What are you working on? He asked. Just organizing things, I said. Work stuff. Something like that. Over the next week, I started saving everything. Screenshots of texts, photos of receipts, copies of his travel confirmations. It wasn't just proof, it felt like currency. Clara called one night. Are you going to confront him again? No. Then why collect all this? Because knowing is power, and I'd rather be dangerous than desperate. Mark came home late Friday. Long day, I asked. Yeah, traffic was a nightmare. I smiled, of course. You don't believe me. I believe you, I said lightly. And I did, just not the part he wanted me to. He noticed the difference within days. You're calmer lately, he said over dinner. Am I? You're not starting fights. I guess I don't have the energy anymore. Good, he said. I smiled into my wine glass. Good for both of us. Dr. Mason asked in my next session, how's it going? I stopped confronting him. How does that feel? Like I'm wearing armor. And what's your plan? I shrugged. I don't know yet, but when I make my move, he won't see it coming. At home, I watched him lie and didn't flinch. I laughed at his excuses, nodded at his stories. Because for the first time in months, I wasn't reacting. I was planning. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon. Clara's name lit up my phone. You've seen it, right? Seen what? She sent a link. My stomach dropped before I even opened it. Elise on a lounge chair at some tropical resort. Sunglasses, bikini, tan legs, and Mark, right next to her, shirtless, grinning at the camera. They were tagged, public. I scrolled to the caption, Paradise is better when you share it. Within minutes, my phone exploded. My sister, Anna, call me now. His mother, we need to talk. Two friends from college, is this for real? I tossed the phone onto the couch and stared at the wall. By evening, he came storming in, slamming the door. What the hell did you do? I blinked at him, me. You let people think he broke off, hands in his hair. Do you know how this looks? I think I do, I said calmly. She tagged me by mistake. I laughed, loud, sharp, startling even to my own ears. Mistake, she tagged you and wrote a love letter caption. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. His jaw tightened. You could have taken it down. I don't control her account. You could have told people, it's not what it looks like. Why would I? Because you're my wife, he snapped. Exactly, I said, which means I know exactly what it looks like. He paced the room. Do you have any idea how embarrassed I am right now? Embarrassed, I leaned back on the couch. You should be grateful. Now the whole world knows what I've known for months. This isn't funny, Anna. I'm not laughing because it's funny. Then why are you laughing? I met his eyes. Because I've been waiting for you to trip over your own lies, and you finally did. His voice dropped. You're enjoying this. Enjoying, I shook my head. No, relieved, absolutely. You're twisted. And you're caught. He stared at me, something unreadable in his expression. You think this makes you look good. I don't care how I look, I said. I care that you can't hide anymore. The phone buzzed again on the table. His mother, I ignored it. Aren't you going to answer? He asked. Nope. She's probably freaking out. Let her. You're unbelievable. And you're exactly who I thought you were. We stood in silence for a long moment, the sound of his shallow breathing filling the space. Finally, I smiled, small, deliberate. So, how was paradise? His nostrils flared. Go to hell. I kept smiling. I placed the envelope on the table between us, right next to his coffee. What's this? He asked, frowning. Divorce papers. His hand hovered over them, then pulled back. You're serious? Yes. Anna, come on, we don't need to do this. Yes, we do. He pushed the envelope away. We can fix this, I'll change. I shook my head. No, you won't. She means nothing. She meant enough for you to risk everything. His voice rose. It was a mistake. I cut him off. Stop calling it that. Mistakes don't happen for months. Mistakes don't involve hotels, lies, and hiding your phone. He leaned forward, desperate. We can start over. No more late nights, no more secrets, just us. There hasn't been an us for a long time. You're my wife's. I was your wife, I said. The woman you married wouldn't have tolerated this. She's gone. He searched my face. So that's it, you're just done. I'm done letting you hurt me. He laughed bitterly. And you think you're going to be happier alone? I know I'll be freer. Anna, I swear. Stop swearing, you've sworn 1,000 times. This time's different. I almost smiled. That's what you said last time. He looked at the papers again, fingers tapping the table. I can't sign these. You can, I said, and you will. What if I do? Then I'll file anyway, and trust me, you don't want me to take this to court. His jaw clenched. You've been planning this. Yes. For how long? Long enough to know I'm sure. He sat back, silent for a moment. I don't even know who you are anymore. I'm the woman you taught me to be, I said, the one who finally knows her worth. I stood up. Sign them when you're ready. Where are you going? Out. To her, he asked bitterly. No, I said, my voice steady. To me. I walked out before he could see my eyes blur. The tears weren't for him, they were for the years I lost. Wow, Clara said, stepping into my apartment for the first time. It's bright. Sunlight, I said, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. I'd forgotten how much I missed it. She looked around at the canvases leaning against the wall. You're painting again. Yeah, I set the mugs down. Figured I'd start with something small, then it got bigger. Clara walked over to a half-finished piece, streaks of gold and crimson cutting through deep blue. It's beautiful, it looks free. I smiled faintly, that's the point. We sat by the window, the warm light spilling over us. You heard about Mark, she asked. No, I said, though I already had. Elise left him, some guy she met on a trip. I stirred my coffee slowly. Figures. You don't care. I care the way you care about the weather, noticed, but it doesn't change anything. Clara studied me. You're different. I had to be. Do you still think about him? Sometimes, I admitted, but not the way I used to. How that? I don't replay the fights or the lies anymore. I don't wonder what I could have done differently. I just see him for what he was. A few days later, my mother called. I got your new address from your sister, she said. Yeah, thought I'd make a fresh start. I'm proud of you. For what? For not going back. I laughed softly. That was never an option. One afternoon, I ran into an old neighbor at the grocery store. Haven't seen you in a while, she said. Moved out, I told her. Oh, and Mark. Still where he was, I said, and left it at that. Back home, I stood in front of a blank canvas. My phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. I answered, hello. Nanas. I didn't recognize the voice at first, then I did. What do you want, Mark? I just wanted to see how you're doing. I'm fine. He hesitated. You sound different. I am different. I miss you. I let the silence stretch. That's not my problem anymore. Do you ever think about us? Not in the way you want me to. He sighed. I made mistakes. I cut him off. No, you made choices, and I made mine. I wish we could talk in person. Why? So you can try to rewrite history. No thanks. Honest. I have to go. I hung up before he could finish. For a moment, I stood there, letting the quiet settle. Then I picked up my brush. That night, Clara texted, You okay? Yeah. He called you, didn't he? Yeah. And I'm still free. A week later, I finished the painting. Bold strokes, jagged edges, colors clashing but somehow fitting. When Clara saw it, she asked, "What's it called?" "Ashes and Wings," I said. Because that's what I was now. The woman who walked through fire and learned she could fly.